Immortals is an American fantasy action movie directed by Tarsem Singh. The movie describes how the Immortals fought against each other in the past. The movie opens up with a brief narration of the war between the Immortals and heaven. It is mentioned that, after the war, the victors were titled as gods, and the losers were titled as titans. The titans were then trapped forever inside the mountain of Tartarus. It is also mentioned that a very powerful bow called a Piraeus bow was lost during the war. At present, a young girl named Virgin Oracle Phaedra wakes up from her sleep after getting a vision of King Hyperion, unleashing the Titans with the help of the Piraeus bow. At the same time, a huge army of King Hyperion arrives at the place in search of the Virgin Oracle. He is searching for the lady because he thinks that she can find the location of the Piraeus bow by the help of her visions. Soon, King Hyperion himself walks inside and asks a priest about the Virgin Oracle. But when the priest suggests that he should fear God, he gets angry and burns the priest alive. He is determined to slay the gods who ignore his prayers to spare his family after his wife and children died of sickness. He also tells the priest that he will end the reign of gods and release the Titans from their shell. The scene then shifts to a village where a young boy, Theseus, lives with his mother. His mother is considered as an outcast because she was raped, and that's how Theseus was born. One day, the village guard rings a warning bell and a commander, Helios, informs the villagers that King Hyperion's army is marching towards the village. He also suggests that they need to evacuate the village as soon as possible. He urges the villagers to move behind the wall of Mount Tartarus to remain safe. Meanwhile, Theseus and his mother are stopped by one of the guards, Lysander, stating that they are peasants and should wait till the next day to move out of the village. When Lysander speaks foul about Theseus's mother, the latter gets enraged and attacks him. Soon, the guards join in and takes Lysander as a hostage. Because of the commotion, Helios is forced to negotiate with Theseus, claiming that he will make sure about the safety of the remaining villagers. Helios then asks Theseus to join his army, but he refuses. On the other hand, he kicks Helios out of the army because of his immature behavior with Theseus's mother. At night, an old man who is also Theseus's teacher senses someone spying on them and transforms himself into a god, Zeus. Later, he finds out that the one spying on him is none other than his daughter Athena. Athena inquires about Zeus about why he spends a lot of time with Theseus. In reply, Zeus tells her that he believes Theseus is the only one who can fight against Hyperion and defeat him. Elsewhere, an angry Lysander kills the other guards and walks towards King Hyperion, offering him his service and the location of the village. However, Hyperion wants nothing from Lysander's list and reveals that he just wants to know the location of the Piraeus bow. He then belittles Lysander on being a traitor and crushes his manhood with a hammer. The next day, while Theseus is returning home after practicing his spear skills, he notices Hyperion's army murdering his fellow villagers. Enraged, he quickly jumps into action with his spear and slaughters many soldiers. However, he is eventually outnumbered and pinned down to the ground. After this, King Hyperion takes a dagger and slits his mother's throat right in front of him. Hyperion then urges his guards to not kill Theseus and take him to the salt mines as a prisoner. Meanwhile, the gods are witnessing everything from Mount Olympus. As they are planning on helping the humans, Zeus arrives there and reminds them that the gods cannot step on Earth and aid humans until the Titans are released. He further tells everyone that if they break the rule and help humans, the only punishment will be death. In the next scene, it is shown that Theseus is being taken to a prison along with other prisoners and the Virgin Oracles. When one of the Virgin Oracles, Phaedra, walks past Theseus and touches his feet, she gets a vision of Theseus joining King Hyperion and destroying Greece. As a result, she immediately walks to one of the prisoners and informs them that they should escape from the prison the following night. At night, the Virgin Oracles perform their rituals, attracting all the prison guards towards them. Sensing the opportunity, they attack the guards and kill them. 3 of the Virgin Oracles decide to stay back to stop the pursuers, while Phaedra, Theseus, and other prisoners manage to flee. The following morning, one of the prisoners, Stavros, notices a merchant ship and plans to take it for their journey towards Hyperion. But unfortunately, when they step inside the ship, they are ambushed by a large number of Hyperion's army. Before the fight ensues between the two groups, Poseidon, the god of water, jumps from heaven into the sea and creates a big tide. The tide eliminates everything in its way, including Hyperion's soldiers. Luckily, Phaedra's vision saves her group as they manage to escape the tide in time. Later, Theseus asks Phaedra about what else she had seen in her vision. In reply, Phaedra tells him that she had seen him together with Hyperion over a body wrapped in clothes. Upon hearing this, Theseus mentions that his mother died recently, and her body is lying at the place where Hyperion killed her. Phaedra suggests he goes back to the village and give a proper funeral to his mother's dead body. At the same time, Hyperion orders his men to search for the lost virgin oracle and to bring her back alive. While Theseus reaches his village and is performing the rituals for his dead mother, her body gets struck by a rock. Theseus tries to break the rock, and in the process, he finds the Imperious bow hidden inside. As he tries to use the mythical weapon, he is suddenly attacked by the Minotaur, who was sent by Hyperion himself. On the other hand, Phaedra and other escaped prisoners are also surrounded by Hyperion's men. Theseus fights valiantly with the Minotaur and eventually defeats him by chopping off his head. He then rushes outside and uses the Imperious bow to eliminate the soldiers surrounding his group. After saving his friend, Theseus falls unconscious. The next morning, Phaedra can be seen treating Theseus's wound as he was poisoned during the attack. She tells Theseus that he is out of danger but needs some rest. Meanwhile, she also comes closer to Theseus and the two end up making love. In this way, Phaedra is no longer a virgin, and hence she loses her power of visions. After this, Theseus, Stavros, Phaedra, and a monk head towards Hyperion's place with an aim to finish him. Soon, they reach the place and are taken aback to find Phaedra's sisters trapped inside a burning bull. Enraged, the monk decides to attack Hyperion's men and rushes towards the center of the place alone. Shortly after, the group is surrounded by Hyperion's men, and during the chaos, the Imperious bow falls out of Theseus's grip and is taken away by a dog. Fortunately, the god of war Ares lands there from heaven and kills all of Hyperion's men. Athena also follows him and provides the group with 2 horses, suggesting they stop Hyperion from using the Imperious bow. Surprisingly, Zeus also lands there and appears angry with his children as they disobeyed him. Athena immediately apologizes to him, but Ares tries to defend his actions. Enraged, Zeus whips Ares to death and yells at Theseus to prove him right by defeating Hyperion. Before leaving with Athena, Zeus also tells Theseus that he will receive no more aid from gods and that he should continue the journey on his own. Shortly after, Theseus and his group ride the horses and march towards Mount Tartarus. Meanwhile, the dog which had grabbed the Imperious bow brings it to Hyperion. The soldier accompanying the dog explains to Hyperion about how the gods arrived from heaven and slaughtered his men. Aiming to keep the news a secret, Hyperion kills his own soldier. In the next scene, Theseus reaches Mount Tartarus and meets with Helios, who takes him to the king of Greece, Cassander. Theseus tries to make Cassander understand that the Imperious bow exists and that Hyperion is in the possession of it. But Cassander does not believe him. Instead, he plans to negotiate with Hyperion rather than fighting against him. Later, Theseus receives a message that King Hyperion wants to have a few words with him. He crosses Mount Tartarus's gate and approaches Hyperion, who asks him to join his army, mentioning that he is surely going to win the war. He also tells Theseus that if he joins his army, he will provide him with immortality. However, Theseus refuses his offer, stating that deeds are immortal rather than flesh. He then closes the wall of Mount Tartarus and returns to his group. In the next scene, the soldiers of Mount Tartarus prepare for the war and start accumulating their weapons and armors. Meanwhile, Hyperion also arrives outside Mount Tartarus with his huge army. He fires an arrow from the Imperious bow and with only one shot, successfully destroys the wall of Mount Tartarus. Because of the destruction, most of Mount Tartarus's army decide to surrender themselves to Hyperion. But at the right time, Theseus rises above them and calms them down, encouraging them to fight for themselves. He then leads the army against Hyperion's men and the battle begins. While the battle is going on, King Hyperion marches towards the top of Mount Tartarus, killing Helios and Cassander on his way. Hyperion then takes aim of his bow at the mountain before him and strikes it. Elsewhere, Theseus, who is fighting bravely against the mad army, hears the thud and rushes to the top along with Stavros. However, they are too late as Hyperion is already standing there with the imperious bow aimed at the Titan's cage. Before Theseus and Stavros can stop Hyperion, he fires the arrow, causing a big explosion and unleashing the Titans. When Theseus wakes up after the explosion, he sees Stavros holding the imperious bow and asking him to take it. But soon, he is surrounded by a number of Titans and killed. Suddenly, the gods from heaven land there to fight with Titans and ask Theseus to eliminate Hyperion. At the same time, Zeus buries the imperious bow into the rock, and the fight ensues between the gods and the Titans. Outside, Theseus is attacked by Hyperion, who stabs him multiple times. However, he gets back to his feet and continues fighting when he remembers how Hyperion killed his mother. On the other hand, despite the gods being more powerful than the Titans, they are overwhelmed by their number, and most of them get killed, leaving only Athena, Zeus, and Poseidon alive. Elsewhere, Theseus eventually manages to kill Hyperion after a long and fierce battle. Inside, Zeus notices Athena getting impaled by the Titans. Similarly, Poseidon also cannot control the Titans and is badly injured. With no choice left, Zeus grabs the chains holding Tartarus. He then starts pulling the chains, hoping to collapse the mountain itself and contain the Titans within it. After a bit of struggle, he eventually succeeds in destroying the mountain, and with this, Hyperion's army is also killed. Before Theseus is buried under the mountain, he is transported to heaven by Zeus along with the wounded Athena. The scene then fast-forwards some years, where we get to know that the bravery of Theseus is being passed down through the generations. In the last scene, we are shown that after being impregnated by Theseus, Phaedra gives birth to his son, Acamas. While Acamas walks around the monument of his father, he is greeted by the same old man from the beginning of the movie, who tutored Theseus. The old man approaches Acamas and tells him that, just like his brave father, he must be ready to combat evil. Here we get to know that Acamas is blessed with the same power as his mother, to get visions of the future. Before the movie ends, Acamas closes his eyes and observes the gods and Titans fighting in the sky, with Theseus leading the army of the gods.